having serious doubts about my upcoming wedding, just 3 days away, after my fiancée mistakenly called me by her male colleague's name. I, a 30-year-old man, have been with my fiancée, a 28-year-old woman, for 4 years, engaged for 1. Everything seemed set for our big day until last night. While finalizing seating plans at home, she accidentally referred to me as another man's name, specifically a coworker of hers. Let's call him Mark. I was floored. I stopped and asked, "Hold on, what did you just say?" Her face drained of color, and she tried to brush it off with a nervous laugh, blaming wedding stress. But Mark isn't some random name. He's a coworker she's gotten close to recently, and I've had uneasy feelings about their bond for months. There have been subtle warning signs. She messages him in the evenings about non-work topics. She shared private office jokes that only involve him, and I once noticed his name on her phone with a heart emoji. When I brought him up, she always insisted they're just friends, accusing me of overthinking. I wanted to trust her, but her calling me Mark triggered major concerns. I didn't lose my temper. I just went silent. She kept apologizing, saying it was a meaningless mistake due to pre-wedding nerves. I nodded, but inside I felt nauseous. If it was truly nothing, why was his name so ready on her lips while speaking to her future husband? My instincts screamed that she's been emotionally unfaithful with this guy. I have no proof of anything physical, but something feels deeply wrong. The way she speaks about him, the way her face brightens when his texts come through. I noticed these things but pushed them aside amid wedding excitement. Now, 3 days before the ceremony, I'm questioning if my fiancée truly loves me. I'm starting to suspect she's marrying me for my financial security, not genuine affection. For context, I'm financially stable with a good career, covering much of our future plans. She's always been excited about the upscale apartment, the car, the luxurious honeymoon I planned, and the comfortable life we're creating. I hate thinking this, but I wonder if that's why she's so eager to tie the knot. Could her heart be with this coworker? It's a gut-wrenching thought. The wedding is mostly paid for and ready, venue, catering, everything. It's a 150-guest event costing around $18,000. Canceling or delaying now would be a logistical and financial disaster. We'd forfeit deposits and upset many people. But how can I proceed? I haven't confronted her beyond that tense moment. She's been overly affectionate today, acting like nothing happened, but I can't shake it. I haven't shared this with anyone yet. I feel humiliated and devastated. This should be a joyful time, but instead, I'm wondering if my fiancé loves someone else. I'm also furious that she's put me in this spot so close to the wedding. If she has feelings for this coworker, why not come clean earlier? If she doesn't, what's happening? Right now, I'm leaning toward calling off the wedding, but I'm unsure if I'm overreacting. 3 days out. Invitations sent, guests traveling from afar, everything set. Canceling would be chaotic. Last night, while she was in the shower, I glanced at her phone, but it's now password protected, a recent change that feels suspicious in retrospect. I'm torn. My heart says this is a massive red flag I'd be foolish to ignore. I love her, or thought I did, but now I'm questioning who she is. Is she the woman who wants to build a life with me, or someone settling for me while her heart's elsewhere? Can I marry someone I don't fully trust? Right now, the answer is no. I haven't slept well since last night. She's acting normal today, texting about cake options and schedules as if she didn't just call me another man's name. I've barely replied, saying I'm busy wrapping up work before taking wedding leave. She seems to accept that for now. I feel lost and heartbroken. Our wedding is in 3 days, and I'm staring at my suit in the closet, wondering if this is all a facade. I thought we had a strong relationship, not flawless but rooted in love and trust. Now I'm doubting everything. I need outside perspectives or advice because I'm at a loss. I'll check responses when I can. I just needed to get this out and find clarity. Thanks. Update 1. Thank you to everyone who responded to my initial post. I read as many comments as possible. Most advised against going through with the wedding, which aligned with my gut. A lot has unfolded in the past few days. I decided quickly after posting that I wouldn't marry her. Once that was clear, I planned how to exit with minimal conflict. I didn't bring up the coworker again with my fiancée. Instead, I kept my distance in the days before the wedding. We were staying apart. She was often at her parents' helping with preparations, and I was at our apartment. This made it easier. I kept our talks brief and focused on logistics. If she noticed anything off, she didn't let on. She was likely distracted with final details and her bridesmaids. The night before the wedding, there was a small rehearsal dinner for close family and the wedding party. I didn't attend. I just didn't show up. Instead, I spent that night packing my essentials from our apartment. It was a harsh move, but I couldn't face her or everyone, pretending everything was fine, knowing I'd leave the next day. While packing, I turned off my phone to dodge the inevitable calls. I later learned people tried contacting me when I skipped the rehearsal. My brother, my best man, initially covered for me, saying I was unwell. He didn't know my real plan. I feel guilty for putting him in that position, but I was overwhelmed. On the wedding morning, I left town early. I packed my suit, the ring, and a suitcase, driving 2 hours to my parents' house. I left the engagement ring on the kitchen counter with a note. "I'm sorry, I can't do this." It was brief, not kind. I didn't mention the cheating in the note, figuring we'd talk later or she'd connect the dots. My goal was to be gone before she realized. Looking back, I could have said more or texted her, but I was a wreck and just wanted out. Yes, I ghosted my fiancée on our wedding day. It still feels unreal to write. I was fueled by adrenaline and pain. At my parents' house, I had countless missed calls and frantic texts. I turned off my phone again and napped, emotionally drained. Now, the wedding itself. This is where it gets almost absurd. Since I didn't formally tell anyone I was bailing, everyone arrived at the venue as planned, except me. My family eventually learned I wasn't coming. My parents, knowing I was at their house, quietly told a few relatives. But my fiancée and her family were at the venue, dressed up, expecting me. I can't imagine the chaos there. A friend who attended later told me my fiancée arrived in her gown, greeting guests as if all was well. She reportedly said I was delayed by a family issue. Hearing that made me wince. Was she saving face or genuinely believing I'd show up late? I don't know. Guests waited awkwardly. My aunt said for the first half hour past the start time, people just mingled, confused and whispering. My fiancée kept saying I was on my way, dealing with something urgent. I can't fathom what she was thinking. Did she expect me to appear, or was she in denial? After too long with no groom, it unraveled. Some guests left when it was clear I wasn't coming. There was chaos, her dad trying to manage the crowd, bridesmaids in tears, my friends texting my brother for answers. Eventually, someone, maybe her mom, announced that due to unexpected circumstances, the wedding wouldn't happen today. That's a polite way of saying the groom disappeared. I can only imagine the embarrassment and shock for her family. I stayed at my parents' house, avoiding the mess. I felt awful for handling it this way. This woman I loved, or thought I loved, was likely standing there in her dress, realizing I wasn't coming. Part of me wanted to drive back and confront her, but it would have been a disaster with so many emotions and people. Honestly, I wasn't ready to face her or anyone. Later that day, after what would have been the reception, I turned on my phone to deal with the fallout. I had a flood of messages, angry, worried, confused. My fiancé, ex-fiancé, I suppose, had texted and called endlessly. Her messages ranged from "Where are you? I'm scared" to "How could you do this? And please answer, we can work this out." I didn't reply then. Her parents also reached out. It was too much, so I sent a group text to key people. "I'm safe. I couldn't go through with it. I'll explain later." Then I turned off my phone again. I know it's weak, but I couldn't cope at the time. My parents were supportive once I shared some details. I told them I suspected she was unfaithful with a coworker, something unforgivable, keeping it vague at first. They were stunned, but said I could stay as long as needed and were glad I didn't trap myself in a bad marriage. Their support helped, though I'm still processing. I haven't spoken to my ex-fiancée directly yet and don't know what I'll say when I do. I'm angry at her for putting me in this position. If she hadn't betrayed me, none of this would have happened. But I also feel guilty for leaving her to face everyone alone. It was a drastic move, no question. I'm not proud, but I feel oddly relieved it's over. She made her choices and I made mine. That's where things stand post-non-wedding. I'm at my parents' house. She's tried contacting me, even called my parents' landline once, but I asked them to hold her off. I need time before facing her. Maybe that's selfish, but I'm emotionally exhausted. To those who encouraged me to prioritize myself and cancel, thank you. It was the toughest thing I've done, but I know it was right. I'll update when I have more to share, like the financial mess, which I haven't tackled, and the fallout with her family. For now, I'm catching my breath and might sleep for 14 hours. Update 2. I'm back with more details and aftermath. It's been days since the non-wedding. I've had conversations with her and others, and I realize I omitted some context in my earlier posts due to emotional overload. First, about the $18,000 wedding cost. Many asked about recovering funds. Honestly, most of that wasn't my money. I should have clarified, but I was distraught when writing. Her parents covered most major expenses as a gift to us, mainly their daughter. Early in planning, I offered to contribute significantly, but her parents, being traditional, insisted on paying for much of it. They sent me a large sum months ago for the venue and catering, calling it their support. I used their funds, plus some of mine for things like the DJ and suits to pay vendors. My fiancée didn't know her parents gave me that money. She likely assumed I was footing most of the bill, which may have made her see me as financially appealing. It's complicated. Her parents wanted to surprise her with their generosity, and I didn't broadcast it. Now that money is gone. Most vendors were non-refundable so close to the date. Venue, catering, photographer, all paid and lost. Frankly, I don't care about the money. I know $18,000, roughly $15,000 from her parents, $3,000 from me and my family, is significant, but it wasn't my priority when I left. I wasn't going to stay in a potentially false marriage to save cash. Since it was mostly their money, it was easier to let go. I haven't checked with vendors about refunds. That's something her family might handle or we'll discuss later. It's not urgent compared to the emotional chaos. Speaking of chaos, I finally spoke to my ex-fiancée, not face-to-face but on the phone. A couple of days after the wedding fiasco, feeling steadier, I returned one of her many calls. The talk was intense but oddly calm at times. She was clearly upset, switching between tears and frustration. She asked how I could humiliate her and her family, why I didn't warn her. I held firm, saying, "You know why. I know about you and Mark." She went silent, then denied cheating, saying it wasn't what I thought, nothing physical happened. I told her it didn't matter, an emotional affair or whatever it was betrayal, and I couldn't marry someone I didn't trust. She kept apologizing, claiming it was a foolish friendship that went too far due to wedding stress. She said I was busy with work and less emotionally present lately, so she turned to this coworker. There might be some truth there. I was working long hours to save and prepare for honeymoon leave. But confiding in another man and calling me his name? Unacceptable. She insisted she never planned to leave me or replace me, and marrying me was her goal. I replied, "Marry me for what, my money? Because it doesn't feel like love when you're saying another guy's name." That angered her, and she swore it wasn't about money. She said she loved me, but I countered that love doesn't involve an emotional sidekick. The call ended with her pleading to meet in person and me saying I needed time. I also said the wedding was off permanently. I'm not rethinking that. She cried again before we hung up. It was tough to hear. Despite everything, I hate that it came to this. Over the next day, she sent texts apologizing and explaining. In short, she says nothing physical happened with Mark, and she now sees she crossed lines by getting emotionally attached to a work friend. She admitted to secretive texting and sharing feelings she should have shared with me. Apparently, Mark was having relationship troubles. Maybe he has a partner, and they bonded over venting. It spiraled. She said calling me his name was a terrible error that made her realize her mistake. In one text, she wrote, "I plan to tell you everything after the honeymoon. I didn't want to ruin the wedding and thought we could fix it." That made me scoff. Did she think I'd be fine learning later? Or was she protecting the wedding and gifts? I haven't replied to most texts but read them repeatedly, trying to grasp her perspective. She says she was stressed and lonely, formed a connection, but still wanted our life together. She insists I'm the one she wanted to marry, stable, loving, with history, while the coworker was a fleeting emotional lapse she regrets. She's downplaying it since it wasn't physical. But for me, the trust is shattered. Now her parents, what a saga. As expected, her mom and dad were livid about me ditching their daughter on the day they funded. Her dad called that evening, likely to confront me, but I didn't answer. Before ending this update, I'm still at my parents' house. I took a week off work. My boss was understanding after I said the wedding was canceled due to irreconcilable differences without elaborating. I haven't returned to our shared apartment but need to soon to collect my things. She's been at her parents' since the wedding mess, I think, so I should avoid her if I stop by. We'll need to sort out the apartment later. The lease is in both our names with months left. That's mundane stuff I haven't had the energy for. Emotionally, I'm okay. Numb but okay. I'm angry when I dwell on the betrayal, but relieved I escaped a disaster. I stand by canceling. Even if she didn't physically cheat, her emotional disloyalty so close to our wedding shows something was deeply broken. I deserve someone who loves only me when we're about to marry, not someone thinking of another man. Update 3. I finally spoke directly with her parents, explaining why I left. The result was intense, but not as I anticipated. A few days after the non-wedding, feeling calmer, I decided her family deserved the truth. They'd been kind to me throughout our relationship and paid for much of the wedding. They needed to know I didn't abandon their daughter impulsively. Also, I suspected my ex hadn't been fully honest with them if she admitted any fault. So I arranged to meet her parents in person. I drove to their house with my mom for support and maybe as a buffer if things got heated. Her mom answered the door, eyes red from crying. Her dad was clearly furious, arms folded. It was tense. We sat in their living room and I laid it out. I apologized for the pain and embarrassment, then explained that their daughter had an emotional affair with a coworker, and days before the wedding, I found enough to know I couldn't marry her. I described the name slip. I mentioned other signs, secret texts, my suspicion she saw me as a financial anchor rather than true love. I stayed calm, not aiming to vilify her, just clarifying my actions. Surprisingly, their anger toward me shifted to her quickly. Her mom's face crumpled in disappointment. Her dad's anger redirected. He asked pointed questions. Which coworker? How long? Are you sure it wasn't just stress? I answered what I could. I admitted I had no evidence of physical cheating, but it was enough. I showed them a text she sent me afterward, admitting feelings for the guy but claiming it was meaningless. So I put my ex in a tough spot, but they deserved honesty. I also said I suspected she valued my financial stability more than me, which is why she pushed for marriage despite her divided heart. That was my take. Her mom started crying and her dad. He got intense in a new way. He went quiet, which is scarier than shouting, and you could see him processing that his money was wasted and his daughter betrayed the commitment. He said something like, "We poured everything into this wedding, and this is how she repays us." He clearly felt her actions were a personal affront to them, not just me. At one point, her dad apologized to me, which I didn't expect. He said he was sorry I endured this and understood my decision to leave. Her mom said she was ashamed and that I didn't deserve it. It was heartbreaking. I felt bad seeing their devastation. They were so excited for the wedding. They mentioned relatives who traveled were left confused and let down. I assured them I didn't blame them and thanked them for their generosity. I also said I'd try to repay some of their wedding contribution when possible, at least what wasn't spent or recoverable. They brushed it off for now, but I was serious. They treated me like family, and I feel terrible about the outcome. Then the plot twist, my ex-fiancée arrived. She was staying at a friend's that day, but her mom texted her that I was there. She rushed over, maybe hoping to reconcile or talk face-to-face. She walked in and froze, seeing me and my mom with her parents. Her dad tore into her, demanding if my story was true. She got defensive, saying I was blowing it out of proportion, calling it just a friendship. That didn't work. I rarely saw her dad raise his voice, but he did, shouting something like, "We spent all this money and you couldn't stay loyal to your fiancé?" He was furious. It was a messy scene. My ex snapped back, saying it was none of their business and I shouldn't have involved them. She said it was between us. Her dad shut that down. "Between you two. Half the town knows you were left at the altar, and now we learn it's because you weren't faithful." I stood and suggested we leave to let them talk privately. My ex turned to me, yelling, "You had no right to tell them." This was humiliating enough. I replied, "They deserve to know why this happened. I'm not covering for you." She was in tears, shouting, "You're not perfect. You handled this like a coward." I just shook my head and said, "Maybe, but it doesn't change what you did first." My mom signaled we should go, and we left, leaving my ex with her furious parents. That was heavy, not the closure I imagined, but it happened. Later that evening, her dad called me. He said they talked with their daughter after we left. Per him, she finally admitted to an emotional affair, at least. She tried to downplay it, saying it wasn't physical, but they weren't buying it. Her dad sounded angry and heartbroken. He said, "I don't know where we failed her." I tried to comfort him, saying people sometimes stray, not wanting them to feel like bad parents. Then he dropped a bombshell. They're done with her for now. They're so hurt and disappointed that they told her to stay away for a while. They even suggested she find somewhere else to live, as she planned to stay with them post-wedding until we sorted our housing. They're also cutting her off financially, from what he hinted. I don't know their full arrangement, but they helped with things like her car insurance. He said, "She needs to learn actions have consequences." I just listened. It wasn't my place to weigh in, but I felt a grim satisfaction. My ex brought this on herself, and now even her parents are done. It's sad, but it's the karma some predicted. She lost me, damaged her bond with her parents, and wasted their huge wedding investment. Plus, her reputation took a hit. Friends and family now know why the wedding collapsed. I didn't announce it, but word spreads. Her cousin's been talking. Her dad said I'm welcome to call or visit, still seeing me as family despite everything. That meant a lot, though I doubt I'll visit often. He half joked, "Forget the money, it's her mess to explain." So they're absorbing the cost and not blaming me. I still feel bad, but relieved they don't hate me. The emotional affair is out, and everyone knows why the wedding imploded. My ex has gone quiet since the blow-up at her parents' house, not contacting me again. She probably knows there's nothing left to say. Maybe she's dealing with her parents or leaning on Mark now. I'm more at peace with the truth out. It's a relief not to hide the reason or shield her. It's tragic it ended so dramatically, but better now than after vows and legal ties, right?